Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, the show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. And as you see, Yub Nub is getting ready for Mardi Gras, which is a silly little tradition they have down here in Louisiana that I don't particularly enjoy. But anyway, we're going to go into the Jedi Quest books by Jude Watson. We're going to go to book 2, which is The Trail of the Jedi. Now in this one, Obi-Wan and Anakin confront Granta Omega, who is a bounty hunter who is intent on hunting Jedi. Ooh. This kind of kicks off the series, or continues the series that was kicked off in the first book, Way of the Apprentice. And in this book we have what I think is the start of much continuity between Jedi Apprentice and Jedi Quest, which is very easy for her to do, considering that she wrote both. So, for instance, in this book, we're told that Dee Otto, who was kind of prominently featured in the Jedi Apprentice, like from time to time, they were friends with Qui-Gon and Anakin. Well, she sold her cafe to Dexter Jettster from episode 2, which explains why Dexter owns the cafe he owns, how Obi-Wan has been friends with him for so long, and it kind of gives you peace of mind to know that the books featured that cafe that was in episode 2. Although it was, post after the movie had been decided, they didn't know it was going to be the same cafe. But they put it together, they tied them together, and that's just another great continuity aspect that they put in children's books. Remember, we're talking about children's books here, that they're keeping everything within one continuity. Incredible. And you see that through the series. Jude Watson ties a lot of things when she can with the old series and kind of says, okay, stuff that happened back then, here's kind of later. Here's Obi-Wan grown up later, now he's friends with these people, or he runs into these people again, and it's actually pretty good. But what this book focuses on, best of all, is the story between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Because let's be honest, that's what these books are about, right? The relationship, the bond trying to form between Anakin and Obi-Wan, just as Jedi Apprentice was between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Now it's focusing on Obi-Wan and Anakin. In this book here, Anakin basically is kind of second-guessing Obi-Wan's intentions, meaning he knows that Obi-Wan only took him under his wing because Qui-Gon's dying wish was that he would train Anakin, the chosen one. And he didn't think that Obi-Wan, and it makes sense that he doesn't think Obi-Wan wants to do that. Obi-Wan at the same time is kind of just wrestling with the issue as well. So that's really the focus of the story. They threw in Granta Omega, he's a recurring villain. He'll come back in later episodes. But that's why they threw him in. It could have been any adventure they threw in there. It really isn't about the adventures they do, but rather how their relationship grows or suffers because of that moment. And that's why these books are so good. They did the same thing with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I mean, think about it. I mean, Anakin and Obi-Wan could be solving the mystery of, where did Jar Jar's uncle go when he got drunk one night? Honestly, the adventure really didn't matter as much as the character building. That's what I think made this series a success for Jude Watson. And she basically uses the same formula that she had in Jedi Apprentice and put it with Jedi Quest. Except now we have different characters, a different relationship, meaning Obi-Wan and Anakin, which I will talk about later. Now after that, it's time to go ahead and just read book 3, which is The Dangerous Games by Jude Watson. And this one, Obi-Wan and Anakin are sent on a peacekeeping mission. And of course, there's pod racing on the planet. So Anakin gets back into pod racing and he races Sebulba's son, Helkula. And you're thinking, oh man, it's just a retread of episode 1. In a way, yeah, it kind of is. The old pod racing again, young Anakin versus the new young Sebulba, kind of, his son. And I didn't mind it as much. Remember, I was past college by the time these came out, and I still enjoyed it. I know what Jude Watson was doing, though, because episode 2 had not come out yet. 1 was still fresh in everyone's mind. In fact, a lot of you have told me your first books introductory into the EU was the Jedi Apprentice series or the Jedi Quest series, because you saw episode 1, you're like, ooh, I want to read more about this. And the Jedi Quest books were right up your alley because it furthered the story from episode 1. So it makes sense why Jude Watson would go back and tell a story kind of retreading over episode 1. putting Anakin back into pod racer, having another pod race adventure, this time not against Sebulba because he's moved on, but with his son, to kind of keep that tension, that essence from the first movie. I understand that, but the way she wrote it, it wasn't boring for a, post-college kid like me. I was reading it going, this is great stuff. And that was the beauty of these young adult books, because they didn't feel like they were just for young adults. They could be for anyone. And I also think that they knew it was selling across, everyone. People my age, they knew were buying that book and enjoying it. So they paid homage to episode 1 without it looking cheesy or corny, which is something they should have had told Filoni how to do in his Clone Wars, how to make it appeal for kids but not be childish. Anyway, there is one slight contradiction in this book. Anakin is portrayed as being 8 years old since his last pod race, which we all know in episode 9, when he was pod racing, he was 9. That was made clear to us in the Terry Brooks novel. So they're a year off. What does that mean? I don't know. Honestly, when I read it, I didn't think much of it. I went, that's weird. Why didn't she say 9? Because I thought that was kind of common knowledge. And it may have just been a slip. Jude Watson wasn't thinking, put down 8, 9, same thing. I haven't asked Nathan Butler on Star Wars Timeline Gold if he came up with a reasoning for that, because he's always good about slicing it from the year to the month to the day. So maybe saying that Anakin's birthday was after that pod race. He was almost 9, turned 9, and that's when he was having the rest of his adventure. That's a cheap out, but I'm just saying it really, to me, that little minor contradiction doesn't really matter, but it is there in the book, so I'm going to mention contradictions when I see them. But overall, the book is, of course, really good. All right, folks, that is all the time I have for today. I will see you next week with another video. No, we're not going to the parade.